I go out there and play and things like that, but that's so seasonal. I can't do that forever.
Welcome back to the Law of Attraction Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Natasha Graziano, and for sure you know who this guy is. I'm so excited to be in the home of Austin Ekeler. He is one of the most amazing humans I've met. He's the founder of a really powerful foundation, which we're gonna dive into today in the show. He's somebody you're gonna learn so much from. I've been excited to sit down with him. Welcome to the show, Austin. Look, from NFL to the foundation to experience.
Yes.
You've done so many things, and you're what,
27?
Like,
27, yes.
Boy.
The craziest thing is, right, I never dreamt or never even had this as a dream or goal for myself in the future, right? And so I think that's one of the most powerful things about my story is, right, all these things have been a result of my efforts.
So effort is a big part of who you are. Effort is a big part of who each of us is. If you want something, you've got to go for it. How did you go from the boy at 6 years old into one of the biggest NFL players? Let's start there.
Wow. So just quick story about my background. I am from a small town in Colorado. Like one stoplight town, one of the towns where you go through, you're like, who would live here kind of thing. Like that's where Austin was from, you know, farm town, right? Really far out, rural.
I grew up on a farm too.
Really? So you understand then, you understand when you're in that, right, in that atmosphere, right? There's gonna be a lot of responsibility put on your plate. And for me, I grew up, you know, looking after a bunch of livestock, horses, cows, and different animals, right? Building fence, like barbed wire fence, manual labor, a bunch of stuff.
Did you eat all your own eggs from your chickens?
Yes, we did.
Me too.
Yes, we did.
Oh my
that
God,
was a real thing. So you
yeah.
know, she
Yeah,
knows.
yo,
You know,
they're like chickens.
And so for me, that experience, it was, I didn't see the positive in it until I got older. Because when I was in it, I really despised it. I wanted to get out of that. I was like, this is not for me. Because it was actually my mother's ex-husband that put us in that situation. That was his kind of culture, lifestyle. And so I use sports as not necessarily a getaway, but I use sports just get myself an opportunity to continue to go forward and do something else that I was looking forward to. And so using the mindset that I created, learning how to work, I'm talking during the summer, this guy would have 26 miles of barbed wire fence. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen barbed wire fence or watched people put it up, but it is grueling. It is labor intensive.
So intense, and you don't want to catch yourself on it. I mean, it's.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do. You're cut all over the spot. It's just part of the job. You just kind of get used to it. But the real thing was the way he worked is there was no excuses, and you get it done now. Like, on tempo, get the shit done, right? And so when you have that pressure on you, right, and you're continuing to be in that environment at home and then at work during the summer, right? When you live in that, you start to learn that, okay, when I work, like I do it efficiently and I do it fast and I get shit done, right? And then you start to apply that to the sports world. Sports came so easy to me because it was like, I'm pushing myself way harder than the rest of these kids are pushing themselves.
Wow, it's a mentality.
My mentality was set because of the environment that I was in. And that started to snowball, and it's to continue to snowball for me to this day because I've utilized it to get myself out of that situation. The day I graduated, my truck was packed, I left. 17 years old, threw my hat in the air. It was like, you know, graduated, congratulations, right? Had some of my family on my mom's side there because they ended up getting divorced, and so my mom's side's always been supportive of me. They were there, and then I was like, look, I got to get out of this. This is a toxic environment. I don't want to be around it, and went straight to my little tiny college that gave me a chance. You know.
And your college is that where you trained for the NFL?
So let me take it back. So coming out of high school in the US, right, we have, right, bigger colleges, smaller, there's different levels of college. And so I had one of the smaller levels of college. That was the only one that really gave me a scholarship to help me pay for my school. And so that's the only school that gave me it, Western Colorado, and so that's where I ended up. And at Western, you know, they were not a very good organization as far as football, right? They won 2 games the year before, but it was the only school that gave me an offer, so that's where I ended up. And so for me, it wasn't really about the wins. It was more so an opportunity for me to continue to play football to try to pay for my education. you know? And so in doing that, right, I was able to continue to push myself to try to increase my scholarship every year. Mind you, I'd never even watched the NFL. This NFL, this thing that I'm here, this huge organization, I never watched it, right? But guess what? I didn't know that I was working towards getting an opportunity in it. But what I was doing was continuing to push myself in football to try to get more money for my scholarship to pay for my education. I did that well enough that football actually gave me an opportunity. And so I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just really thinking about, okay, how am I going to get out? I was going to get into the business world. I wanted to get into real estate.
Wow.
Yeah.
You now have all these amazing businesses and things that you're doing.
Right.
Wow, what a story.
And so, I mean, just to kind of cap it off of even getting into the NFL, right? I wasn't really looking to get into it until after my junior year of college. And my coach was like, hey, man, you might have an opportunity. And I guess the moral of that story was, right, I learned how to work. I just applied myself. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew how I was going to try to get there and how I was going to move forward. And it was going to be like I was back when I was building, miles of fence, and it was relentlessly and efficiently, right? And you apply yourself, and then guess what? Results started coming up from that.
So beautiful. They say in life, what's worth the prize is always worth the fight. I have that written on me in an ink that's invisible, and when you shine a light over it, you can see it, right? I have to do it and reapply it all the time, but it's so beautiful. Nobody knows, and I just put it on my phone, you can see it. So I put it on my Instagram. But the reason I mention that is because you understand when you want something, and yours wasn't being in the NFL, was clearly to get into business. And then the abundance that came from the fight, the strive, going through it, and there and behold was born. And so even elaborating on that, how I interpret it is back when I was younger, even still now to this day, I was just adding value to myself. I was adding experiences, right? I was adding, just continuing to apply my efforts and my mentality. I was learning about things. I was expanding my self-value. And I did that to the point where I was actually giving value to other places that had interest in me. Now the NFL's like, I had a job offer to go into oil and gas over here, right? On the business side, that's why I went to school. And so I was adding all of these skills to myself, and it was starting to present opportunities. And I think the best part about that is like none of that cost money. It was all free. It was just me putting effort into going down this journey and building up myself. And so that's a story I love to tell, because really, sure, I had a scholarship. It didn't pay for all my school, but really the biggest opportunity that I got was all created just by efforts and putting them into the right paths and continuing to grow myself. That is so powerful. I love that. Okay, so if you had to say what are the top 5 skill sets that every human should have in any area of their life, no matter what you're doing, you're graduating right now, maybe somebody is wanting to go into NFL, maybe somebody's watching this and they're new to you, but they know who you are and they want to better their life. They want to add more value to life. What are the 5 main skill set? Give me 3 because I'll give you 2. Yeah, we'll start with 5. One at a time here. Put me on the spot. One thing that like communication, tenacity. I would say self-awareness. And the reason I say self-awareness is because I think it leads into understanding what you need to work on, what you want to do, what your vision is for yourself. Right? And so if you know about yourself, you know what you do well, you know what you like, you don't like, that gives you a chance to start cultivating some type of plan, right? Because if you don't know about yourself, then it's going to be hard for you to be like, okay, I have a vision to do this, to do that type of thing. So self-awareness is what I would say. And how do you find that? You find out who you are by doing things, right? And meeting people and talking to people, seeing what they like, right? Because then you learn like, oh, I wouldn't want to be in that situation. Or doing things like, oh, I like this or I don't like this. And so being active, right? And then, so my number one is becoming self-aware. I love that. Okay, that's beautiful. Yes. What about any other skill sets that a human should have in today's world? I'll give you one. Communication. Yes. So I believe that your communication style and the way you communicate to other people is what is going to drive you forward. For example, every single day, if you want to get into a certain place, you want to go and connect with a certain person, you want to better your life, you want to get into a magazine, you want to get on TV, whatever you want to do, you want to contact 50 people a day. That's 18,250 people a year. Yeah.
Yeah, and then within the communication, I think something that's actually overlooked that's probably the most important is learning how to ask questions.
Wow, boom, that's a massive skill set in
Yes.
itself. How to ask
Yes.
questions, number
Yes.
3, okay.
How to ask questions. That's even number 2, that's part of communication.
Yo, that's so
because
good.
you can talk a bunch, but if you're not asking the right questions, then you're not getting to know somebody. If you're able to ask the right questions, you can make them feel like you're actually truly interested in what they're actually doing, and then they'll open themselves up. 'Cause
Yes.
now they're like, oh, you want to know more about my passion?
Yes.
Let me pull it out for you. And then you
Yes.
just keep asking questions and diving deeper, right? Then
It's
that
like a
connection,
podcast.
then the connection's made because like, oh yeah, I remember we had that great conversation, right? You were asking all, like that's, most of my communication is I'm asking questions.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
very perceptive and you listen really well, which is amazing.
I think that's because, just side note, my leadership skill is more so like a lead by example, right?
Yeah.
And to do that, right, you have to listen to what other people are saying about you, what they think about, right? And then when you go and perform, people are going to come, they're going to ask you questions. So you got to ask them, right? Okay, what are you trying to get out that you see me doing, right? So it kind of flips the communication on its head because usually you think communication, how you can speak to people, connect, but it's more so how you can take in information.
Wow,
Is how
beautiful.
I say it. Just a different perspective.
King, come on, drop another one. You're good at this. Let's go.
I would say it's not necessarily it's not a skill that you can necessarily have internally. I guess it is because it's more so, I would say, being able to understand what value is, having the understanding of value. And then, because I think for some people it's very different, right? And we're talking about these skills, right? Whereas communication, education, right? Your network, right? Your efforts, your skills, your experiences that you've gone through, right? Those things are real value. It doesn't take any money to do any of those. And I think when you're able to understand what real value is and what people actually are looking for within, right, their business partners or relationships and things like that, I think you'll surprise yourself that it's things that you could effortlessly, right, go and put yourself into, where it's like, oh, I just need to learn, right, and then I can get into maybe a group or talk to a realtor if I want to get in real estate, right, and it was free. It was just understanding that the value of that knowledge was more important. That it's not about, let me get this money, let me get to this certain point. It's just things that you can continue to build forever. And so understanding what real value is and then what that is to you is what I would say was another skill that's really helped me.
That's really. Hey, my name is Natasha Graziano. I would love to invite you to my book club, which is hosted every week live on Zoom with me and loads of VIP coaches that we bring in every time for you. VIP coaches like John Assaraf from The Secret, Michael Beckwith from The Secret, and some of my A-list stars and Selling Sunset girls that you may know of. I can't wait to get to know you. I can't wait to help you unlock the code to the law of attraction, unlock the code to abundance, unlock the code to what you truly want in your life. You see, it's just literally a switch. Once I learned to turn it on, my life changed dramatically. I went from a girl who had nothing in the bank account, hundreds of thousands in debt. I was a girl who was kind of trapped in her own mind. I guess I thought life was as it was, and it would never get any better, and money would never come into my life. And then I turned on the code to the law of attraction, understanding the neuroscience behind it, understanding the ancient wisdom behind it, and my life changed dramatically. And here I am now showing you how you too can transform your life. When you come, you'll be around other successful entrepreneurs, other people who are also wanting to better their life. I can't wait to show you how you too can better your life. Come and join us. It's all available inside of the app. Click the link below and I'll see you there. So Experience, this is a platform that you've created, this engagement place.
Yeah.
Tell us what Experience is. I love how it's EK from your surname.
Yes,
Clever.
yes,
Experience.
exactly.
Ekeler, it's so good.
Nice.
Okay, so Experience, what is it for those of us who don't know, and tell us where you created it from?
Yeah.
Where was it birthed from?
So that's a great question. I love that question. Where it was birthed from. So as I began to climb in the NFL, right, and really start to get a grasp from what I was doing, start to really establish myself, my fan base started growing. And coming from a small town, I was always really appreciative of anyone that was a fan of me. And then I went to one of the biggest cities, right, in the entire world, LA, right? And guess what? My fan base jumped immensely, right? Started to exponentially grow. And I was so thankful, and I still am to this day. Going back to the conversation of what, like, understanding value, I understood that there's value in having communities, right? And being able to have access to communities or having communities that are interested in you as a person. Like someone like yourself, right? Like you don't have a platform unless you have a community that actually wants to listen to you. All of your fans out there, shout out to all Natasha's fans, for giving her this platform. And so I wanted to give back in a way where it was a little bit more meaningful, because yes, I go out there and play and things like that, but that's so seasonal. I can't do that forever. And so it's like, how can I create a platform where we can create these types of engagements that can help me leave my legacy that are deeper than football, right? Because if my fans only see me as a football player, right? Guess what? When my football career ends, that line is cut. Austin is no longer relevant in their lives.
Right.
So for me to make a connection, I got to do something else that's of value to them outside of football. And so I was like, let me create a platform where I can offer different things that I want to engage with my fans, and so that we can create those connections, so that I can continue to build my reputation as more than just a football player and have that connection with them beyond football.
Wow, the birth of that is powerful.
Yes,
and it just
yes.
like grew and just
Yeah.
evolved. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to put a link right here in the show notes. Wherever you are watching this, you'll see a link below to experience
Yes.
the app.
Yes.
So they can go on, click, and...
So what it is it's a platform where influential people like yourself, like myself, can go and set up basically like a profile, and you can create a menu. It's a menu of different things that Natasha wants to offer, right? You can offer, if you want to do a video chat, right? Hey, I'm going to be open for an hour this weekend. I'm going to do 5-minute video chats. Here's the link, right? Or you can do personalized videos. You can do signings. You have a book, right? If you wanted to sign books for people, because I'm sure everyone can't get to your book signing that wants it. Well, guess what? If they wanted to get it signed by you, we have a Sign My Stuff category. We have a way to get it to your doorstep, and then a way to get it back to them. All verified. And so we have 6 different offerings right now that you can offer to your fans so they can engage with you.
Yo, this is so cool. It reminds me when we had Ja Rule on the show, and he just launched his thing, and I was the first person on there. It was
really?
Yeah,
Really?
an icon. It reminds me of it. Oh my God, and I can, as you guys know from Ja, who's a good friend of the show, I mean, you have created something that we know is going to rock it out. Like, we love that kind of thing. So anyone that's watching and you want that sense of community, you want that place where you can connect with your favorite people. So
Yes.
that's awesome. So are you choosing the people that you connect on there? How are you?
Yeah, so
selecting
we
them?
have a broad spectrum of different types of people: athletes, podcasters, YouTubers, motivational people, right? Gamers, streamers. And so really it comes down to people that are willing and wanting to engage and continue to expand their fan base. Is what it comes down
I am
to.
going to be on there. So by the
Yes.
time you lot download this, just know you're looking for me. Type in Natasha Graziano on this app and come find me and find
Awesome.
Austin.
Yes, come see us.
So they can get signed stuff from you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, we should do it like a
We can do a collab.
Yes.
We can do a collab.
We could do a collab
Yeah,
on
we
there.
could.
Okay, yo, you guys are in for a treat.
What are we gonna sign?
We should, yeah, I know.
We'd have to have a collabed item.
We should talk on it together.
We could do that,
We should
yes.
do a chat,
We
like
could do
a
a chat.
fireside chat.
Do a video chat?
Yeah, like a fireside chat. Because I find it's really funny when I'm on Instagram Live. When I do an off-the-cuff one, like getting ready, just talking about, yo, this is how you get the SP, specific person of your dreams. This is how you do this. This is how, like, I manifested someone in 3 weeks and then married them and like this and this and that. Like, yo, this stuff happens. Like,
Wow.
it's amazing.
You married someone after 3 weeks?
Yeah, 3 months. That was my second husband. So I just get it. Like, he's like, what?
I'm like, what?
No, I just
Go
fucking
make it
get
so
it.
happen. Make it
I'm
happen.
like, I
Make it
love
move.
it. You make it happen. So I help people do it. I was sitting on the plane today. I met this lady, and she has her own private jet firm thing and looks after big stars as planes. You know, heaps of people.
Yeah.
You know for sure. And we were talking, and she was like, the one thing I don't have is this dominant, beautiful alpha woman is love. And I was like, girl, this is exactly what I help
What are you looking for? I'm right here. I'm right here.
I gave her she was like, I was praying for someone like you to show up and show
there
me
it
what
is.
to do.
There it is.
I love love. Like, it's such a fun
Yeah,
topic,
make it happen. That's
right?
awesome.
Like, make it happen for people, just because love is a thing where, I mean, what do you, like, love for you? What is love to you?
Ooh, we're getting deep.
Yeah.
What is love to Austin? Wow. That's a great question.
It's hard to answer.
It is a hard,
Like,
it's a hard
it's
question.
not tangible.
No, right? And it's very based off of perspective.
Yes, and feeling. And
Right, and feeling. And I have learned about myself that I do not have much forgiveness. And so I think that plays a lot on what love means to me.
Wow.
But I think it comes down, it's a mixture of loyalty and value, right? And value meaning different things, you know, as I've spoke, but loyalty and value, what I think comes to that, my perception of what love is.
Wow, really interesting. I love asking people what love is because some people never felt it. Some people have felt too much of it. Some people have been like,
I think
you know?
I think there's levels to love, right? And I'm not an expert at all of this, so this is me just shooting from the hip here. But there's things that I think that I truly love, like my self-love, right? Where it's like it's impenetrable, like it is me, it is my drive, it is my passion, it is my fulfillment in life. Right, my deep love, and that resides around me continuing to push myself and expand myself and add value to my own life that overflows into others. That is like my true love that pushes me where I feel like my life is actually worth something. That's like my true love for myself.
So beautiful.
And then when it comes to other people, it's a lot more difficult, which it should be, because you don't want to just be handing that out to other people. But like I said, for other people to come into my life, it comes into the value that they're able to bring to my life, not just like, oh, you can help me scale my business, but more so maybe you can help me stay on track. You can help me feel grounded, right? Things like that.
100%.
And then the loyalty within that over time continues to build that love, right? And so, I mean, there's levels. It's not necessarily like level 1, level 2, but it's more so scaling, right? It's where it's like over time it continues to build. It's like a snowball.
100%. You know? I couldn't agree more. Like, love is something you don't want to give away easy, but at the same time, in order to receive love in your life, you have to clear everything from your past. You have to like let go of what's happened, and forgiveness, I know you're saying, is a thing for you. Can I send you a forgiveness meditation?
What is forgiveness to you?
Forgiveness.
And then where do you draw the line, whether you should forgive someone or move on?
That's amazing. So here's the truth. Forgiveness is nothing to do with the other person. Forgiveness is so that you can let go of that burden you've been carrying for something that person or that event or public figure did to you, that you finally decide to just take off, put on the side of the road, and move on from. It doesn't mean that person ever needs to know you've forgiven them. It is simply about you letting go. That is forgiveness.
Well, then, if you put it in that term, I forgive a lot of people, but they're just not in my life anymore.
There we go. They're not.
Yeah, right.
Same. Like,
right.
I see it like it will mean me forgiving you. In my mind, you will never know. You may never, ever even realize or feel it, but I will know. And you may never see me again. You may never hear from me again. In fact, all of the above, but I am free of you.
Right. And I think that's powerful too, how you're saying it, because I've realized that with going to my foundation, I wanted to start a mentorship. And the reason I'm saying that is I was told by my mentors is like, you can put all the resources in front of somebody, but if they don't have the potential, the drive, the want to, the will, then it's not going to help them change. And so it's like, it taught me that you can't force somebody to change, even though you're trying to set them up for what you think is success or some type of path, right? And that comes back to the forgiveness, where it's like, I've basically taken that into my forgiveness world, where it's like, if there's no value, if there's no loyalty there, like going back to that love, then it's like, I have to move on from you. But not because I don't like you as a person, but just because I don't want to have to feel like I'm changing you, or I can't change you, right? 100%. You are who you are, and it just doesn't align with what we're trying to do or 100%. Anything in where my life's trying to go.
You just said something really interesting. You said like a partner for you, or like someone who you give that love to, they have to be adding value in your life. I couldn't agree more. I love the idea. It doesn't mean that they, again, have to do like certain things to help me scale. It means how are we moving forwards? Like how does this benefit the world? How are we a power couple that is genuinely doing more for humanity? How are we putting our forces and our talents together rather than you doing your thing and me sitting in the background just like watching? That's,
and then,
you know? Just
speaking on that, because if you think of that from too far of an outside view, you think like, oh, I need to go be this power couple. But you can, to be that power couple, you need to make sure your home life is a powerhouse first, right? And so that will be a result. What you're talking about will be a result if you have your home life, right? You feel like you're comfortable, you're open with this person, you can relate, you can talk about anything, you can talk about the struggles and work through them, right? That's going to be what gives you that result of being that power couple, being able to change the world, things like that. But that's where that value has to start with me, right? And everyone in our love life, as far as like intimate things like that, where it's like, hey, at home, how are we together, right? And if that's good, that's solid, now we can go to the next step and like let's keep taking it and it keeps growing. That's like snowball I was talking about, right? And the further that snowball gets down, the more power, the more chemistry you have, the more you're doing, it starts to overflow into other people, right?
100%.
But you got to get it going first.
Yeah,
you get it going,
step by step by step. I always say to people, don't try today and literally overnight become the person you want to be in 5 years.
No, you can't. It's possible.
Impossible. 1% each day.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah.
1% better each day. What can you do today that is going to benefit your life for the future?
Right, and I'll speak on that just for an example from my life. And that's when I really started to become self-aware and start to realize what I thought value was, and started to realize that it didn't always take money. It just took effort towards like the things we talked about, like communication, right? And so what I've started to do is build structure around the things that I think are valuable in my life. For example, the communities.
Yes.
I think that's so important in my life, right? And like people that were supporting me. And so I wanted to build something around that. At first, it was a Twitch stream.
I heard, so
I
that
was my first time. I was like, okay, there's value here. I want to communicate to these people, so I can work on my communication, and I can also give these people access to me at the same time. So I was working, there's multiple values I was getting at it, but I built something around it to hold myself accountable, right? So I was like, hey, I'm going to start streaming. I'm going to set my schedule. I'm going to go here, and guess what? I'm going to be talking, right? So I'm working on my communication. I'm also going to be interacting with my fans and my community and growing it that way. And so as far as just kind of something that you could do out there, right, where it's like build some type of structure, right, where if you want to communicate better, right, like you said, reach out to people, right?
Yes.
And this could be written form, right? It could be, hey, you're just calling a realtor just to pick their brain about something. It could be, right, Natasha, if you want to learn about love, you want to learn about empowering yourself, right? Reaching out to you on experience through your video chat that you're going to have up.
Yes.
There we go. Perfect plug.
Boom. I love that.
It's just going and practicing. And it doesn't have to be with these people that you're looking up to, because it's not going to be at first. It's going to take you a while to get up to where those people probably are, because you're looking at their finished version. And like for me, like when I built my app, like it was after 3 years of developing this, this strategy and this basically plot of what I was trying to put out there. And so it starts very small, but if you can build some type of structure around the value you're trying to add to your life, it's going to help you stay accountable and actually put effort and continue to build that.
I love that. Can I ask you some questions around that, like building?
Yes.
Because I'm really intrigued. What hurdles did you hit along the way of building this wonderful app? Because this is entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
So you're going into a different field now. We're back to the mentality part. We're back to like the positive mental attitude or whatever you went through. Tell me some hurdles that you maybe overcame along this journey to get to this wonderful space of experience.
And the beauty in it is the same hurdles that I've encountered with the app are the same hurdles that I've encountered just to get into the NFL, to continue to grow myself. It's not necessarily specific to the app, it's more so specific to myself. And so I can only do so much, right? I only know so much. I can only put efforts into growing myself to a certain cap. That doesn't mean that cap is stuck in stone, but it means that I'm gonna get to a level where I don't know what to do anymore. And I've hit that so many times where it's like, okay, I don't know what to do. I need to find help, right? I need to find help. And what I've been able to do, right, is find that help. That's another skill, being able to find help, right? Being able to learn, being able to, reach out to the right people. Maybe it's learn on YouTube. So what I've run into just over time, and I think a lot of people do in general, where it's just like you get to a point where you don't know where the directions to go. You don't know who you need to reach out to. And so that's the hurdles that I've hit with experience, several times. And every time that comes up, all right, it comes back to me putting in effort, like I said, which is free. It's putting in effort into learning about, okay, what do I need to do next? I'm trying to put another level on top of my burden, right? I'm giving myself self-inflicted, self-inflicted hardship, right? I'm like, okay, I'm capped out. How do I break through that, right? And so it's come down to me learning, right? Learning, right? That's how I push through. A specific example was when we actually I built out all these different visuals and the concept, and I have it all mapped out, and we're going to start looking for a dev team, right? Well, I don't know anything about a dev team, right? I've never done anything in the tech world, and so here I go. I'm learning. Let me go to the internet. Let me go to people that have done tech, and so I'm talking to these people that are listening to my project, if they want to take it on or not, and they're like, oh, well, you should do this, you should do that. So I'm just getting information, right? And getting the information allows me to come up with a plan and then try to go execute that, which allowed me to learn, allowed me to break my barrier and increase the cap of my capability, right? And so when it came down to even with football, so football, right? Go back to football. I for my first 3 years in the league, I was like a special teams guy. I was like a backup, right? And then I was like, okay, how am I going to be able to take my game to the next level? And so I had basically reached the cap of what I was doing. I was like, okay, I want to add another layer. And so I started to really understand the defensive schemes. Now I'm at the point, okay, now what else can I do to add more responsibility onto myself to grow into that? And so I've just, every time I've hit a hurdle, what do? I try to learn. That's where I need to learn, because then it allows you to have a plan. And then there's some type of art within, right, committing yourself.
Yes.
And so that's basically what I've been doing over the past year, just continue to rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat, that is so good. So you basically layer on, you learn, then there is something to learn from the mess. There is a message, or there's something that you went through. They always say you grow through what you go through. Like what you go through is where you're gonna grow.
Ooh, I love how you said that. You go through what you grow through. And so the fact that, like, I've realized with the self-awareness that I love to be in a space where I always have stress.
Yes.
Like
a healthy stress.
Yeah, it's healthy stress. It's not like over the top, but it's close to it, where it's like, why am I doing all this?
And they actually say that on a graph, that point right before the tipping, right before you go into that little box, that's the best place for success. And I can't believe you just mentioned that. That's a scientific thing.
So that's just like becoming self-aware, right? And so like if you think of just my career, and I talk to people and they're like, you really do a lot of things, and football just happens to be one of them. I'm like, yeah.
I can tell that,
because, well, back if you would ask me 4 years ago, no, just been football, right? But then guess what? I hit a wall, and I was like, how do I expand? So I started streaming, right? And then I started doing media,
Twitch,
right? And then I started doing, Twitch. Then I started the foundation, right? Then I started, getting into the fantasy football world. Then I started, getting into my app.
What's the fantasy football world?
It's a whole community that is probably the biggest community in the sports world in America, maybe even in the entire globe.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically, you can have me on your team. You have a team.
Yeah.
And you can bring players from different teams, and based on my stats for that week, it's based on how many points I score for you. So I score a lot of touchdowns. So if you had me on your team, I would be scoring a lot of points for you.
Okay.
Right? And so because of that, and there's millions of people that play it. There's people that don't even know football, but they want to beat their coworker, right, in fantasy football. So they're watching Austin Ekeler and rooting me on. It's a whole different industry.
Yo, there's a whole other layer to this. This is so nuts. Okay, away from this is an interesting thing that I really want to talk about. You are a huge advocate for mental health awareness, particularly with athletes.
Yeah. Just people in general, really.
Yeah, exactly. People in general. So where did that come from, and what are you trying to promote then?
As far as even just the foundation, and with Austin Ekeler Foundation, when it comes to any type of mental health, I think that's where, for me, it allowed me to start my journey of bettering myself.
Yes.
When I started to have a sense of, okay, I want to have something better for myself. I want to move towards that. I was in a state of mind where I wasn't too torn that I couldn't get out of it, right? That I couldn't put effort in, and I was like, I'm stuck, and I didn't play the victim mindset, right? And I think this victim mindset is what I'm talking about with mental health. I want to get people out of that so that they have hope for themselves, right? And what I mean by the victim mindset is that people that think, oh, the system is against me, which it might be, but guess what? If you're thinking that, then guess what? You're probably going to be subject to that. It's like, let's think, how do I get past this? How do I get past these barriers that have been put in front of me because of the situations in my life? And for me, that really came down to having opportunities with resources. As far as I had a gym to go to, right? That was really what it was for me, right? For me, when I was really young, I would be in the gym all the time. And just having access to that resource for me was pivotal in my life, because it taught me mental health. It taught me social skills. It taught me physical, right? It taught me how to be physically strong, right? And it taught me, how to work as a team and how to push myself. And so whatever that is for other people, that's what I do with the Austin Ekeler Foundation, right? I've been putting resources back into the community so that people can feel like they have access to the general things that can help them get going in life, right? And so it might not be directly a mental health, like, hey, this is what you need to do as far as like a course or anything, but it's, hey, you go out and do things, right? And if you're around these types of environments and things, then guess what? It's going to help you continue to grow yourself, which will put you in a better mental state. So it's an indirect way of fighting mental health.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your Austin Ekeler Foundation.
Yes.
It is a very remarkable place, and it's for people who are less privileged and don't have the access to these sorts of things. So Where was that birthed from?
Yeah, kind of building on this story, right? For myself, I didn't have the best resources growing up, but we had them. And so things that we're doing with the Austin Ekeler Foundation is, right, for example, one of my favorite projects that we've done, because I think it's one of the most impactful, is up in Watts, California. The number 2 reason that kids weren't going to school was because they were in low income families and didn't have clean clothes, right? So they didn't have access to washers and dryers. They couldn't afford to go to the laundromat, put it in. So we put washers and dryers in their school so they can come do their laundry at the school. Another one that I'm passionate about.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's putting resources, putting tangible things, right? Like I told you, I can't force people like, hey, here's stuff, do it. So, but what I can do is I can put it there. Now it's up to you. Right now, it's up to you to go utilize this. I'm talking weight rooms. I'm talking washers and dryers,
the most
different equipment,
simplest things
that you don't even think about. Yeah,
most people take for granted.
Right.
This is so powerful. I'm putting a link below to the foundation. If anyone today feels like, maybe even if every person just gave $1, every view from today.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine how much we could raise?
So,
that is beautiful.
So right now, we have 2 projects going on. We're building another weight room in Long Beach, and then we're also building an early childhood literacy school up in Compton, right? Where it's getting people like pre-K, people that don't have access to technology, right? We're getting those little guys and girls, right, getting them access to being around like technology, understanding kind of what that means. Because I mean, in the world we live in, it's all technology, right? So to even stay up with what's going on nowadays, you have to have some type of introduction to that. So making sure that the kids, the little ones, are still getting into that, even though they don't have that at home.
That is so beautiful. It touches my heart. I mean, I'm a big part of Pencils of Promise, the charity. I sit on the advisory board, and I had no idea until I went out to Guatemala, which is one of the countries that we, take care of, and I donated a school. But the build up to that of me understanding was what made me go, I have to do this. It was, and it's my biggest achievement. Like people will say, what's your biggest achievement? Well, my son, and this, because for me, doing something that it's so normal. We're talking about like general hygiene. In the school, we're putting a wash system, which goes through the charity, where they have they can wash their hands, they can be clean, products, they get taught about general hygiene, menstrual hygiene. They have workshops which are put on for them in the school. And this school isn't just for the 600, 700 children who are going to go in this area in Mazatenango in Guatemala. It's for the community because the families are impacted. So when you're talking about this is so powerful. And you guys have heard, if you've listened back to the episode we did with Kylie, the CEO from Pencils of Promise, the power of coming together in a community and actually having the facilities that we grew up with and take for granted.
Right. Well, the thing is, it takes people to help people, right? As far as our government, they're going to set up services to get us by, but then at some point, right, us as a community have to be like, okay, there's people that aren't able to help themselves right now.
Yes.
And so I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, I have excess, right? How am I able to overflow that into some type of valuable thing that's sustainable that we can keep doing over time? That's where the foundation comes in.
The foundation is so powerful, and that must be like a really big achievement for you, because for me, charity is like a...
It is, but for me, I'm always looking at the next thing. Like
the goalpost, it always moves, right?
It never ends. So it's like, what's my biggest achievement? Well, it hasn't happened yet. I don't think it can ever happen, right? There's no end. You just keep going.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Doing the same stuff I'm doing now.
On a grander scale.
So mentally doing the same stuff I'm doing now. Internally, right? Because what am I doing right now? Right now, I'm relentlessly on a pursuit to better myself, expand on my values, right? And we can talk about that at a different time as far as what those specifically are. But I am trying to broaden my value, and I know if I do that, I will continue to broaden the opportunities that come to me. And I know, I never thought I was going to have an app or a foundation or any of the other things I'm doing, my own shows, things like that. But because of the things I've been doing as far as pushing for value in myself, right, communication, meeting people like yourself, then I've been able to get opportunities that I never imagined. And so what will I be doing in 5 years? I have no idea what that exactly looks like, but I know it'll be the same as far as what my effort is continue to expand and grow. So hopefully making a lot more of an impact than I am right now.
That is so beautiful.
Really, my efforts, I think, are to push myself as far as I can and then hopefully leave a wake behind me of motivation for other people to do the same, right? By seeing this is a kid from the one stoplight town, right, out in the country, no one even knows about this dude. How is he doing this?
Yes.
And the thing is, it didn't take money, right? Money became a result of what I was doing,
yes.
right? But it was more so about me, right, continuing to push, and grow. So.
Beautiful, and I hope that in 5 years from now that we'll have you back on before that. Maybe you'll come on for like round
let's do
2,
it.
like every year, the increase of
Yeah.
the impact that Austin has made. Like
Yeah, right.
every year.
I'm not sure it can be quantified, and that's the best thing. You
Yeah,
know? You know,
yeah.
it's like even people ask me like, what are my goals for the NFL, and it's just like to be better than I was last year, right? Like, sure, you can put the measurables on me, and I think the thing that separates me from people in the NFL, because if you look at me and you look at any of my teammates, I'm the smallest guy on the field at all times. But why am I having such a big impact? Well, it's the things that you can't measure, right? It's the things that you can't measure. It's the heart and it's the intensity that I take to actually putting my work in and making sure I get my job done at an efficient and high level.
That is
right?
so beautiful.
And you can't measure that.
No.
You can't measure that, right?
No.
It'll give you results that you could possibly measure,
Yes.
but the value that that holds alone is something that has separated me, right? Because like I said, if you look at me and like, oh, if you were to put me up against any of the other running backs, my measurables probably don't measure out, but my efficiency and my results are beyond them.
You know, I'm the smallest one on the stages I speak on. You know, I'm like 5'4",
Right.
I'm tiny. Like, and I love it and I freaking own it. And I'm a woman and I come on stage and I'm like, big voice. And they're like, holy shit, I love that. It's so cool. Okay, you mentioned earlier about learning and how you've overcome things, right? You say in many interviews that you love reading and learning and books and, you know, evolving. So are there any?
I love YouTube. Like, that's my space.
Yes, I was going to say, so
That's my
what's
space.
your modem of learning? Is it books? Is it platforms? Is it listening? What is it? And tell us an example.
Yes, so for me, it's really talking to people in the space. That's what's really helped me. And so I will learn about it. I will learn on YouTube. I have real estate, finance, right? Some gaming, some football, right? I have all these
Tutorials.
It's not tutorials, but it's people that produce consistent, right, content about these things, right?
Yeah.
So I guess it could be somewhat tutorials.
Content creators in those.
Correct. More so experts that are doing educational type channels.
At the top of their game in each field.
And so I listen to these types of people just to learn how to speak the language. Right, just to learn how they're talking about it so that I have some type of understanding of the industry. For example, me getting into real estate. I didn't know anything about it. I was kind of nervous. I was still nervous, you know, when I'm looking at deals and things like that. Just wanted to make sure it all plays out. But what I did was I was able to learn just enough about it by talking to people, or not talking to people, but by learning from YouTube. And then I reached out to a house flipper out in Colorado, where I'm from. And I was asking them if they were flipping any multifamily houses, because they had like 10 crews going, and I just wanted to reach out just to make a connection. And it wasn't the first guy, but someone in his just workspace that he knew was. And so he directed me over to Matt, who I work with today, and then got me in touch. And it's like, hey, this person does multifamily. And so then I was just talking to them, seeing what they were doing, because I was looking to get into this space, right? And so it was. Moral of the story, well, now we have a real estate fund. We have like over 117 properties together, right? That's just, it blew up after, 5 years of just working together. But really it was me learning, and this is what I tell all of my young guys that come into the locker room. I'm like, don't do anything until you learn and can speak the language, right? Learn. And then when you're able to speak the language, you could talk to people in that field and actually know what they're talking about. And you can start to learn, you can start to vet people out. Do I trust this person? Are they speaking things that make sense to me? Things like that. Then, right, when you find those people, then you can actually start building something with those relationships. So learn, connect, and then build the relationship, which could lead to, right, the results of actually having something, right? And so that's one in the real estate world. One in the app space, it's the same thing for me, right? Where it was like, it goes back to how I overcome things. I reach a barrier of my knowledge and my expertise, and so I go learn about it, and then I'm reaching out to development teams, and now I can speak the language a little bit as far as like, hey, what are we gonna use in the front end, the back end, these types of things, right? And then I was like, okay, this is what we're thinking, this is why we think you would be a good match. I'm like, I don't like that, you're trying to do too much in this space, let me talk to this other people, right? So it allows you to actually apply knowledge and go poke around, right? I didn't know anyone in this space, so it's not like, I called the top person because I had a cool connection because I'm in the NFL. These are people that don't even know anything about football or me in general, right? So it just goes to show, it wasn't that because I'm so special, it was just because I put effort into learning and then went into tried to apply it in people in that network. And so It's examples of how I try to overcome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Give me something that your family would tell about you, a really good story that your family, a funny story or something your family would share about you. You know, that they know about you.
Wow, my family.
You got a big family?
I don't have a big family, no. I would say it's good. I have cousins and stuff like that, aunts.
You're not an only child?
No, I have a half brother. He plays football at Wyoming right now. He's a senior. But what would my family say? You could probably feel this energy, but they would definitely say that I am determined, but like almost obsessive with the things that I'm building, right? Like that's who I am. That's what I do.
Love this.
Right? I just build. But as far as a funny story, wow.
Come on, something from the farm. Something from like...
There are no funny stories there. That was not a funny time. That was a lot of toxicity. So that. Yeah, not so much. College, funny stories. Wow, I don't know if I have any funny stories with the family. But something that, like I said, they would talk to me about is that they probably have never met anyone with this type of energy that I go with my passions, right? And it's beyond passion, because for me, it's my fulfillment.
It's your purpose.
It's my fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, and so as far as, it makes for somewhat of a dry life in the comedic space.
Yeah.
But as far as the growth and impact, right, it's exponential.
No, I love that. It's so beautiful. Okay, give me something that you would tell your younger self. He's walking into the room right now, and this is the last chance you're ever going to speak to him. You're departing Earth because you don't know if tomorrow comes. It's a gift.
Yeah.
Every day we wake up, we've already won the lottery. I say to people, if I gave you $10 million today, $100 million, and fucking 5 private jets and a yacht, you say, I want it. But if I told you you're going to have all of that, but tomorrow you're not going to wake up. If you accept it, you're never going to accept it because the price of life is so much better than anything.
Because you have to understand what real value is. You know, I speak about it. I speak about it till I'm blue in the face. But what would I tell my younger self? I would tell my younger self, right, just keep going. Like I am honestly inspired by my younger self. I remember I look at my freshman year of college. I was 17. And I remember I was putting out like these motivational clips talking about how I wish people would try harder. I wish, right, you would continue to push yourself from within and not worry about what other people think. And right, I used to put out these clips, these little things, and do like little workout videos, not knowing what I was doing at the time, but that was my personality. And so I would tell myself to keep going. What's made me today, and I'm so thankful for my younger self for going through that and pushing through in the way I did. Right, I feel like I've done it the right way, as far as being able to just continue to build, because it has taught me, it's given me a scaffolding that can be implemented as far as how I can grow forever, right?
Wow.
The scaffolding is the same, right? You see these people that have several different businesses. Well, it's not because they're an expert in everything, but it's because they've built themselves up in a way where they can apply the same type of skills that they've used to start different types of businesses, right? I just got back from Tony and Dave Meltzer's conference, and you look at Dave, right? This guy lost $100 million and then built it back. You know, well, it's not luck. Well, it's because he built himself up to be able to have the capability to do those types of things over and over again.
Dave was our very first guest on this show.
Oh, really? That's what's up. Shout out to Dave.
Yeah, that's literally how he started my entire career. Like,
wow.
I love him. We're friends. Yeah. He's been on the show, I think, twice now. Yeah.
I would tell my younger self, man, keep doing what you're doing. Don't change. What would you tell your younger self?
I love that. You know, and it's interesting. I wouldn't change.
How are we doing on time?
Oh, we're good. We got.
Good.
Yeah. We have another 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Do we want to do the exit right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, let's go to the exit.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. I'll just answer that in one word.
Okay.
I would tell my younger self to truly believe in yourself, to truly believe that you can do it, because nobody else is going to do the self-belief for you.
Did you not believe in yourself?
No. And I gave up, and people pushed me down and made me feel like I couldn't do it. And I ran from it, and I lost so much from it. And I hid away from the world with imposter syndrome and with an illness and other things I went through because I just gave up on myself. So just never stop believing in your dream.
That's great.
And that was yours. And on that note,
Okay.
we have come to the end of today's episode. I'm so grateful for everyone who has tuned in today. We are so grateful for your ears, your time. You've been sitting with an NFL legend today. If you've enjoyed this as much as I have, share this with a friend, with somebody who is going to learn. There were so many golden nuggets in there. Mic drops for days. Share this with a friend. Put this up on your social media. Tag Austin, tag me. The handles are below so you can use that, and we'll repost our favorites, I'm sure. I can't wait to see you guys again next Thursday. Thank you so much for coming,
Yes,
Austin.
thank you for having me on. I appreciate you.
Thank you. We'll see you again soon.